When you talk about this notion of a zero sum, like if you have something, that means someone else doesn't have it, you do not believe that money works that way. Is that correct?
I don't believe that many things work that way. I think we've been conditioned to believe they work that way, which is a lot of why we are at each other's throats, quite frankly, right? But I don't believe. I think there is an energy source that we tap into. And, it's interesting, Tami, because I was in this conversation with our community. We've been doing this training called Scarce No More this summer. And it was really, for us, kind of a groundbreaking experience in terms of the way that our community leaned in and the kinds of conversations we've had. But one of the things we've talked about is so much of what we have sort of hooked on to in the conversation about money and what happened for us as it relates to money, right? Money being invented in the 1760s and sort of this way the currency or medium of exchange got developed, but then really very quickly exploited, right? But the whole idea is that the medium of exchange has changed. As a matter of fact, I can, really, I have to think back the last time I actually held a physical dollar. Right. Because it's normally a card or a swipe of our phone, like the currency has changed. But what got fractured in the exploitation of the medium of exchange, and I really want to speak about that this was conscious exploitation of what occurred. What happened was that what got disrupted was our natural innate relationship with the all-providing energy. The all-providing energy of our universe, meaning that we got fractured from the idea of enoughness, and everything became about not enough because the medium of exchange was being manipulated in a way that created the perception of not enough, right? And so this is really what we're healing. Like, we all have a relationship to the all-providing energy, whatever we want to call it. God, source, the universe, love, creativity, whatever we want to call it. We all have a relationship that is part of our inheritance. And what we're healing is the fracturing of that relationship. So any place where we're in a conversation of not enough, right? There are not enough jobs. There are not enough positions at the level that I want to be at. There are not enough, fill in the blank, fill in the blank, fill in the blank. But this has been conditioned response because of the way in which our relationship to currency has been manipulated.
So just because I think this is so profound and so important, what do you mean the way in which our relationship to currency has been manipulated? Help me understand that. Because I think one of my biggest blocks to money my whole life, someone would have said, you have a bodhisattva block to money, Tami. And I'm like, what? And they're like, yeah, you think, you're here to serve everybody else. You can't have, if you have, and when I got it, that me having more didn't mean someone else would have less. It was one of the biggest early breakthroughs for me, because I couldn't have more if it meant someone else was going to have less. That went against my blood.
Yeah. And I think that is the case for a lot of people. But again, that is conditioning that tells us that, right? Because the very nature of our relationship with the all-providing says that there is enough. And I think, again, we have to juxtapose this conversation against the conditioning of extreme consumerism, right? Which is also going to tell you more is more, right? And so on the one hand, we have this conversation in our society called there is not enough. And on the other hand, we have this conversation called you can't have enough, right? And both of those are we're at war with ourselves. We're at war with ourselves. Because those parts of us that have been conditioned to want more, no matter what we have, we want more. This is the greed, right? What becomes the sort of activated greed is what really feels like desperation and lack, right? To this idea of, well, there just isn't enough. So somebody's going to lose and somebody's going to have, and that's just the way it is. And those are lies. Those are lies. And at a fundamental level, our ability to start to challenge that and challenge the entrenchment of that, because the conditioning is so deep that it's very easy for us to feel the resistance immediately. Well, easy for you to say, right? Because I'm looking at my bank account and you're not, right? Easy for you to say because we have all the reasons. But if we understand and recognize and start to think about how many conflicting messages we get around this idea of enough, that begins to give us a little more freedom to kind of open up and go, well, what is it that I believe, or what is it even that I want to believe? What's going to empower me? And I think that's the question that I would want to pose, right? What is a belief about money that would actually empower you? That would empower you. That's not rooted in the rhetoric, but that's rooted in your truth and what feels true and aligned for you.